Before I share the true reason my husband stopped sleeping in our bed, and before I tell you about the one sentence that shook the very foundation of our marriage, I have a small favor to ask. If you have ever felt a chilly distance growing between you and the person you love most in the world, please stay close to this group of caring friends. If you have ever seen someone you love change right before your eyes while they pretended everything was just fine, then please stay with us here. The most painful heartbreaks do not usually arrive like a loud and scary storm. They tend to happen very slowly and very quietly, one small change at a time, until one day you wake up and everything feels different. The very first night that Daniel went to sleep in the guest room down the hall, he told me it was because of his work. He explained that the mattress in that extra room was much closer to his home office desk. He gave me a small, tired smile, and I truly believe him. Marriage is a funny way of teaching us to ignore the tiny things that feel a bit off. You tell yourself that your partner is just having a stressful week. You say they are just worn out from a long day at the office. You promise yourself that this change is only for a little while. But the sad truth is that things that are only supposed to be temporary have a very dangerous habit of becoming permanent parts of your daily life. By the second week, I simply stopped asking him to come back to our shared bed. That was the part that actually scared me the most. It was not just the physical distance between our bodies. It was the fact that I was slowly getting used to being all by myself. Every single night, I would lie there in the dark and hear his quiet footsteps walking down the hallway around midnight. I would hear the soft click of the guest room door closing, and then there was nothing but silence. It was a cold and empty kind of silence, the sort that makes even a large house filled with nice furniture feel completely lonely. During the hours when the sun was up, Daniel acted like everything was perfectly normal. In fact, looking back, he acted a bit too normal. He still gave me a soft, sweet kiss on my forehead every morning before he left for work. He still asked me how my day was going when he got home, and he still smiled while we sat and ate our dinner together. But none of it felt real to my heart anymore. It felt like something he had practiced over and over, like he was just playing the part of a good husband instead of actually being one deep down in his heart. One Friday evening, his younger brother, Ryan, decided to come over to visit us without calling first. Ryan has always been very different from Daniel. He is much more honest, and he always lets people know exactly how he is feeling. He is the kind of person who notices the tiny details that other people usually walk right past. The very second he walked into our kitchen that night, he looked at my face very carefully. He asked me if I was doing okay. For some reason, that simple and kind question almost made me burst into tears right then and there. We ordered some food to eat that night, and we all sat together in the living room pretending that everything was totally fine. Daniel laughed at a couple of jokes. Ryan laughed along with him. But every once in a while, I caught Ryan looking at me with a very strange expression on his face. It was like he knew a big secret that I didn't know yet. Around midnight, Daniel stood up from the soft sofa. He said he was absolutely exhausted. There was that word again. He disappeared down the long hallway toward the guest room, without even turning around to look back at me. Ryan stayed behind to help me tidy up the kitchen. For a few minutes, neither of us said a single word. Then, very quietly, he asked me how long Daniel had been sleeping in that other room. I froze right where I was standing by the counter, because suddenly the thing we had both been pretending not to notice became very real. I whispered back to him that it had been almost 3 weeks now. Ryan looked down at the sink and let out a very heavy sigh. That was when a real, sharp fear crawled into my chest for the very first time. I nervously asked him what was wrong. He waited for a moment, looking like he was fighting with himself about whether to say something he wasn't supposed to share with me. Finally, he looked me straight in the eyes and said that Daniel thinks I do not love him anymore. Those words hit me so hard that I actually started to laugh out loud. It wasn't because I thought it was a funny joke, but because it sounded completely impossible to me. I asked him what on earth he was talking about. Ryan leaned against the kitchen counter and said very softly that Daniel thinks I stopped needing him. He said I stopped talking to him, stopped touching his arm, and stopped even noticing he was there. I opened my mouth to defend myself and say he was wrong, but no words would come out. Suddenly, memories started playing back in my head, just like a movie. I remembered all the nights I stayed staring at the bright screen of my phone instead of listening to him talk. I thought about the many conversations I rushed through because I was busy with chores. I remember the times he reached out to hold my hand, and I barely reacted or squeezed back at all. It wasn't because I didn't love him. It was because our life together had become a boring routine. And a routine can be very dangerous. It makes the person you love feel like they could be replaced by anyone. Ryan looked at me and whispered that Daniel didn't move into the guest room because he stopped loving me. He moved because being right beside me started feeling too lonely for him to bear. That sentence broke something deep inside of me. Feeling lonely while you are inside a relationship feels much worse than just being alone. It feels like you are slowly fading away while the person you love just stands there and watches it happen. I did not sleep at all for the rest of that night. Around 2 a.m, I walked quietly down to the guest room door. I stood there for a long minute just staring at the dark wood. Then I finally knocked. Daniel opened the door looking very confused and sleepy. Before he could even say a single word, I started crying. It was a kind of real, heavy cry that you just can't stop once it finally begins. I whispered to him that I was so very sorry. He looked shocked and admitted quietly that he truly thought I had stopped loving him. Hearing those words shattered my heart into pieces. While I had been busy just trying to get through daily life, the person I loved most had been suffering in total silence right beside me. We stayed up and talked until the sun started to come up that morning. It wasn't a perfect or magical talk, but it was honest. For the first time in many, many months, we stopped pretending. Sometimes that is exactly where a relationship begins to heal. It doesn't start with big, expensive gifts or dramatic gestures. It starts with being honest. So, if you're listening to this right now and you feel distant from someone you love, please say something today before the silence starts speaking for you. If the story felt real to your heart, keep listening and join us, because these quiet stories are the ones that matter the most.